video, you're going to learn an easy way to pull together this special Memorial Day cemetery piece for a loved one. What I've done is I've already put my dry foam into my cemetery piece. Now these come in a couple different sizes. This is on the larger side. Picked this one up at Hobby Lobby, and it does have a pointed base. I've just removed it so that while I'm working on my arrangement, I can have it on a flat surface. This, like I said, I got at the Dollar Tree, and I've also filled this with dry foam. You want to make sure that you use the dry foam and not the wet Oasis foam. The reason for this is if you should choose to use wet Oasis foam, it will start to disintegrate after a while. So you're putting all the time and the effort and the money into making an arrangement. So you want to make sure that you choose the right foam for the insert so that it will last a lot longer. Let me just grab a piece. Okay, this is the dry foam. If you notice, it definitely has a more styrofoam look to it, as this is the wet foam. This is what we use for fresh flowers. So this really disintegrates after time, and it doesn't work well for silk or artificial flowers. So you want to make sure, again, that you start with the right kind of foam. You can purchase a cone-shaped dry foam, which is easily inserted into your cemetery base. If you can't find that, you could cut and form and fit the dry foam into the holder. And if that's something that you'd like me to do a video on, I'm willing. Just leave a note in the comment that you'd like to see me put that together, and I will do that for you. So since I'm doing a Memorial Day piece, I wanted to be sure to use colors red, white, and blue. So this is where it comes tricky for me, because there are so many choices of florals, depending on how big your container is, depending on how big you want the arrangement to be. We don't want to have an arrangement that almost looks lopsided, and what I mean by that is we have this huge arrangement and we have a small container. It's going to look a little off base. We want to make sure that it's cohesive and pleasing to the eye. So in saying that, these are absolutely gorgeous. They've got some green tones in them, a little bit of yellow. I absolutely love them. But I feel at this point they're almost too big for my container. So I could have gone with these beautiful white hydrangeas, and that's an option. But I'm choosing these white peonies. And the reason why I'm choosing them, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to pick this up in the video, is they actually have a tinge of red on the end. And when I select my flowers, I always try to find flowers that truly complement one another. So when you choose one of your stems, hold it in your hand and walk around and choose the rest of your stems. So this is what I'm going to be using. I'm using these big white peonies, and we're going to fill up our base with that. I'm going to be using some of these red, smaller poppies. When I think of poppies, I think of veterans and service. And since this is a special piece from Memorial Day, again, I think this ties in really nicely. And then just because we're always saying on our channel it doesn't have to cost a lot to decorate your home, it shouldn't cost a fortune, I'm actually incorporating some blue flowers that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. And I also picked up, for some of the greens, I picked up this spider plant. It actually even has some streams of babies on it. And I love this, first of all, when you're considering the type of flower that you want for the cemetery and outdoors. You always want to try to get something that's a little more weather resistant. And all of the flowers that I have chosen are that. We are going to talk about spraying your piece when you're done with UV protectant spray. But these are more of a plastic feel, so I feel that they're going to last a little bit longer. One thing that you do need to know, when you do choose some of the darker colors, those tend to fade out a little bit earlier than, say, the white, and that is one of the reasons why I would suggest that you use UV spray. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of my peonies and I'm going to cut them apart. Now, what I want to suggest is that when we cut our stems, we're going to leave them as long as we possibly can. We don't want to cut them too short right off the bat because, of course, you can always cut them shorter once you decide where you want it to go. But right at the very beginning, I want you to try to leave your stems as long as you possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I've cut my first stem and I have inserted it in the center. If you notice, I've actually kept a couple leaves attached, and that's on purpose because that's going to serve as some of our greenery. What we're going to do is as we build our arrangement, we're going to stagger. So we've got our top tier. Now we're going to start working now on our next white peony tier, and we're going to do 3 tiers. So I want to choose some of the peonies that are a little bit longer, and I'm going to put them in at an angle. Again, second tier. And I'm just holding my base as I'm going around. Trying to keep that second tier all at the same level. Okay, and now I'm going to go to my bottom tier. This one is a little bit long, so I'm going to wait to use that. Just turn it. Now if you notice, I have some leaves down here that I'm going to actually snip off, but I want to save those leaves because I might be able to use those when it comes time for the greenery. Oh, these peonies look so real. They're beautiful. Okay, so this is what our first, our second, and our third tier looks like with our peonies. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to insert our blue flowers. Now if you notice, I'm going to try this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I have not cut these apart. I haven't separated them because what I'm hoping I can do is insert them and just work them in as one stem, work them in amongst the white peony. Let's give that a try. So I'm going to go right down towards the center. I'm going to push it in, and then I'm going to start to just kind of pull the blue flower in amongst the white. This is a lot easier if you can actually work with the one stem instead of having to separate it. It works a lot easier for you. Okay, so I've got that first blue stem in. I did get a total of 3 green stems. So if you notice with the peonies, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have a total of 8 peonies in. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm separating these, bending them, because we want to bend our flowers anyways. I'm always talking about that. You don't find flowers outside, fresh flowers, perfectly straight. I'm going to insert these on the other side into my foam and just work this in and through. Now, you would notice that I have not used any glue. If you're putting this outside and you want to make sure that it's secure, because there are going to be windy days, we know that for sure. You do want to use glue on the end of your florals. For the purpose of the video, just to be quick, I'm not using hot glue, but you want to make sure that you do that. Now this leaves a very good spot for conversation because I'm noticing this. This is a spot where you put a bow. You either can do a bow, you don't have to do a bow. If you decide you don't want to do a bow, you would just very easily just take another peony and stick another peony in here. I have to cut this one down to fit. Just to fill that space out. We just want to make sure that everything is nice and evenly spaced. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that blue for right now. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try, if you notice I haven't cut these two apart, I'm going to try to do the same thing. I'm going to try to insert these. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot because it's actually going to save me time and effort. I'm going to start at the top here. Now my style is a little bit more natural and whimsy. Your style might not be like that, and that's okay. That's what makes floral design so beautiful and so much fun. Everyone's style is a little different. I'm having trouble. If you have difficulty inserting the flowers, you might just need to nip the end a little bit and make it kind of at an angle for yourself. Oh, look at how pretty this is looking. I love that pop of red. I wouldn't suggest more than 3 colors. I think it might be a little distracting. But again, this is your special token to your loved one, so you can make it exactly how you want it to be. This would also be a great project for your kids to do, for their grandparents or whoever that they want to just remember. Shorten this a little bit. You'll know some stems are easier to insert than others. Some might need a pick, and what I mean by that is a wooden pick with some wire on it, and all you simply do is just take the pick. You can make it as short as you want depending on how far up you bring it on the stem, and then you're just going to wrap it. And you could use florist tape if you wanted to, but for this you don't really need it. I'd apply some glue, and then you just want to push it in. And that's the other difference between this type of oasis foam and the fresh floral oasis foam. This definitely is firmer, which is what you want. Okay? I'm going to do a few more blue, and this time I'm choosing to cut them apart because I want to be able to separate them a little bit. Again, I'm leaving it as long as I possibly can. Put some in here. And remember, we haven't put our greenery in yet. Although, what I do love about these peonies is this dark green leaf that they have really helps to add depth to the piece. Put a pop of blue in here. I'm leaving that spot for my bow. You could put an American flag. See how quick this has come together? It's beautiful. Okay, so next I want to add some of my spider plant. And again, the reason why I love this is because it's so different. This isn't what you would typically see, but there's so many choices of greens. Some of them are very heavy plastic, which that would definitely be weather resistant, again, if that's your style. I just love how natural that looks. Really, if you get all your pieces cut and ready to go, you could pull this together in a half an hour. What a great lesson for your kids. Even if you wanted to, you knew someone was a veteran who had served and you wanted to leave something special, their gravesite, that would be, what a beautiful token. So here we go. Here's our piece. I'm going to grab some ribbon and I'm going to make a bow. I'll be right back to show you how to pull that off. So I just want to talk a minute about ribbon choice on a piece like this. First of all, we've talked about the weather and how we have to keep that in mind, whether it be the hot sun or the wind. But choosing a ribbon, I mean, there are so many options. I did pull out some of my red choices, and I was afraid that those just, I don't know, when I looked at it, they reminded me too much of Christmas and not what I want to be thinking about when I look at this arrangement. I thought about doing this blue and white, but it's too dark. It's not really what I'm looking for. So I decided I would go with this color, and the reason being, number one reason why I chose this ribbon, it's a heavy canvas. So I know when I actually make my bow, it's going to be very firm. And I want that because hopefully it's going to withstand some of the wind. So my first step, I'm going to measure out the size of the tail that I think I want, which probably, let's just say 12 inches by the time I dovetail it. And I'm going to pinch my ribbon. And then I'm going to take about 6 inches and I'm going to fold it over and bring it back to a pinch. And then I am going to twist my ribbon. And the reason for that is because this is not double-sided. So I want my design to be on the front. So that's the point. That's the reason why we're twisting at this point. And then I'm just going to fold it back onto itself like I did for that first loop. And I'm going to gather it in my fingers and pinch it. Okay? And now I'm flipping it, holding that in my fingers. I'm flipping that again. Now, in saying that, the more durable, the more stiff your ribbon is, which is what I want for this piece, sometimes the harder it is to hold it in your hands. I'm going to make one more loop, and I am going to pinch. Now, at this point, if you wanted to, if you're having a hard time holding all this, you could very simply just take a clothespin and hold all of those loops together with a clothespin until you're done. So now I'm simply twisting, and I'm going to fold it back onto itself, keeping it about that size. Now I'm going to take my bow in my hands and I'm holding it up to make sure that I like the size of the bow compared to the arrangement, and I'm happy with that so far. So I'm twisting it again just so I know I have it the right way. And that's why sometimes it's easier if you let out a lot of ribbon, because you're not having to play with a short piece of ribbon that's getting all tangled. And now I'm folding it back onto itself, trying to keep it the same size. I don't want to get it too big. So I'm up to 5. I've got 1, sorry, trying to make it so you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm continuing to pinch. I've got it all in my fingers and I'm pinching it, twisting it, I know a lot of us struggle with bows, and what I can say, you're not going to want to hear this, but practice, practice, practice. Really is the best thing. Okay, so I have 6 now. I'm not sure if I want 8. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for 8 because I'm going to tuck some of it down in. Pinching. This ribbon is really fantastic for this type of piece because it's so firm. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got that side's done. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got this side done. So I have all my ribbon. Now at this point you can either use a pipe cleaner or you could use a piece of wire. I just have a piece of pipe cleaner here that I'm just going to. I'm pulling all of my pieces through that pipe cleaner. I'm folding them down and I'm just going to twist it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so there's my bow. I'm going to cut my other strand just as long as that one. And now I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to attach it to my wooden pick, or attach my wooden pick to the pipe cleaner. And I'm also going to use some hot glue. I would use hot glue for this as well, so you know that it's really attached, because this is what we're going to stick into the arrangement. Okay, so I'm going to pull our arrangement back up here. Make sure it's in focus. We've got our ribbon with our pick, and we are going to press that into. Now, this is when you play with your flowers. Make sure that you have, if you want to stick some more greens in, placement of your flowers so everything is evenly spaced. If you wanted to, if the kids wanted to, you could add some stars, you know, for a fun celebration of life. Again, this all depends on your style and what speaks to you. When I think of some of my loved ones that have passed that I would make something like this for, they were very happy, fun-loving people. And I just think that they would absolutely love something like this. Again, it's different. It's to celebrate their life, to remember them. But that might look, you know, completely different for you. And then you want to just make sure that you feed this through the whole arrangement and you spread it out. There you have it. See how easy this is? I know you can do it. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned a tip or two. I'd love to see if you decide to create a Memorial Day cemetery piece. Post a picture down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think.